Shanghai.
They're like woven deep into this game's lore, and of course the literal projector above the stage that you can find different film reels for as you teleport after pack-a-punching. There is a music Easter egg finding these 3 meteor fragments that will play the most iconic song in all of Call of Duty Zombies. This alone added such an unforgettable energy to a map that's already addicting and a fun survival experience. This map has no main Easter egg, however, which I actually think was a positive at the time, as to not overwhelm the player in this brand new mode. While Kino is not the most intricate map, or even the best map out there, sorry KSX Silencer, I will say it's the most palatable Zombies map ever, and someone beginning Zombies should absolutely start here. It's just complex enough to feel satisfying and something that you can learn, but it's not too much to be overwhelming. Like,
Ja, ich will noch einen Lademilch.
Teach those pathetic crimson bastards a lesson.
Hive is the other on-disc map that initially shipped with Black Ops, and this map is quite different to Kilo and in ways that aren't so obvious right away. This map takes place in the Pentagon, and it's just quite different layout.
Wo ist dein Paket?
Is wide open and gives you tons of options for approach. Just a couple viable playstyles and an unforgiving layout. Very tight corridors, not much room to move around, or confusing 3-layered structure with the offices where you initially spawn, and then the laboratories, which are a lot more constricted. Now the upside to this is each area feels closer to the other, and it gives you like a lot of variety in the same. Also these teleports that will basically throw you to a random location, and in the remastered version of 5, which is called Classified in Black Ops 4, these teleporters would tell you where you'll end up, but in 5, they have this unpredictable and chaotic energy that is like used to the uncomfortableness that 5 makes you feel. You literally don't know where this teleporter is going to send you, and also not to mention, Pack-a-Punch is much less straightforward here than it is in Kino. In 5, you need to pull 5 DEFCON switches and then teleport. After that, whatever pile up, I'll send you in the meantime. The Wonder Weapon, which is called the Winter's Howl, is one of the worst Wonder Weapons of all time. And if all that was backed up, every round, the Pentagon Thief spawns in and steals the weapon you're currently holding. However, if you manage to kill him in time, you'll both get your gun back and max ammo and a fire sale. If any weapon at all, you get a bonfire sale, which reduces the cost of pack-punch decorating. As long as these things on top of 5, and also, like, traps have to be built, or they need a component added, or they can be used, and things like that. 5 is far less gracious on players, and that might either turn people off or make them want to keep practicing it more. Either way, it's certainly a and while this does not have a main Easter egg, this map's function is to take the flow of the gameplay and just turn up the heat a little bit. And if you get the rest of the time down to trying to play it, it can be an incredibly fun experience. And two very different feeling maps on this if you never have any of the DLC. But the DLC maps start to become more than just this standard formula, and that brings us to Ascension. DLC 1 for Zombies in this game will be the map Ascension, and while this map takes a lot of assets from the campaign, Ascension is a totally different map in terms of what it brought to the table. First and foremost, Ascension has a unique element to spawn in. The map is in total black and white from our power. You're at a Russian cosmic facility, and most of the features involve interacting with rockets and landers to get around the map. The layout takes the more approach where it's very open and there's tons of space for everybody to get around in. The map would also introduce new perks as well, Stamina and PhD Whopper. These will become fan favorites and change zombies forever. Also, this map changed the traditional genre and this time small space monkeys crash land in these lands and they go around to steal perks. And I have to say, these monkeys are probably the worst part of Ascension. On solo, they're absolutely intolerable, and in co-op, they're not too bad. However, as long as you can protect the perks effectively, they can be really hard to kill sometimes, especially on high rounds. And despite being really tiny, they have a lot of health. They can also throw grenades back at you if you dare to try it. And if you manage to kill all the monkeys before they touch any perks at all,
enemy using sleep raging.
But most important, besides all the conversion devices from the box, the Matryoshka dolls, and so on, this is the first map in Zombies history that had a true main Easter egg. It's a full-on hidden quest where you get 5 or 6 different steps, and yet you get perks and a 90-second death machine. In the days of Black Ops 1, most main Easter eggs some can be solo, but for the most part, you need a full team to complete these. This encourages you to explore in public areas as well. And Ascension's formula is a lot of what's reflected in Zombies' design now. Primarily just a survival experience, but a hidden layer and a full quest. While I have my annoyances with Ascension, the monkeys to be specific, it's an incredibly fun map for what it is, and it manages to be very distinct from other Black Ops 1 counterparts. Both Kino and Ascension are excellent starting points, in my opinion, and that would head into DLC 2 with another map that makes it hard to shift.
Die alle dorthin sind.
It's one of the most strange maps in Zombies history. Not least because of its star-studded cast. This is the first map to be full of celebrities. Sarah Michelle Gellar, Danny Trejo, Mike Jordan, and Robert England, and of course the late great George Romero. The premise of this map is basically shooting, a horror film with zombies. With real zombies show up on the set in Siberia, and these 4 need to fend off and have a voice appearance from our Nikolai Takio that we've been playing with all of Black Ops 1 so far. And Call of the Dead, it turns the Easter egg on its head, where you basically help them actually playing as somebody else who assists them during the main Easter egg to help them escape. This is one of the few Easter eggs in Black Ops 1 that also can be done solo. The steps are slightly different from solo to co-op, but the gist is basically the same. There's a lot I love about Call of the Dead. The wonder weapons, and there's actually 2 of them on this map. The Scavenger and the VR-11 are so incredibly interesting. The Scavenger is an explosive sniper rifle, and the VR-11 changes zombies back into regular humans temporarily. Call of the Dead brought the Deadshot back to the party table. While admittedly, it's much less useful than PhD and Stamina, it's a nice addition that has been a staple in Zombies since then. This map is moderately difficult, but in a way that is really rewarding. Now, I do have some issues with Call of the Dead that aren't so great. Firstly, the layout is somewhat funky. Getting around can be a real chore sometimes, and even though there are zip lines and different methods of fast travel to help alleviate that problem, it's still not great. Also, I can't stand the fog that comes every couple of rounds. It doesn't serve any ultimate function at all, besides obstructing vision, and that feels more frustrating to me than it does adding to the challenge. And as much as George Romero is a great addition to this map, his implementation is the problem is he can't actually die. You can kill him after an absurd amount of damage. He has 250,000 health per player. So in 4-player co-op, he literally has 1 million HP. Every time you kill him, you get a free perk and a death machine, but he comes back indefinitely to follow you around. I really think a better way to do this would have been to give him 1 million base health just flat out. So he's harder to kill initially, but once you do it one time, he's gone for good, unless someone can manually spawn him back in. That could have helped the map tremendously, in my opinion. Call of the Dead also doubled down on injury ingredients that help with these story together and just give us more to theorize about. Call of the Dead is not a perfect map, and its flaws are very obvious. That said, it's still one of the most fun and memorable maps you can play, though. And you can, love it or hate it for its decisions, but it really is one in a million. And in any case, Call of the Dead is an awesome map with a great Easter egg, and it's just as equally fun for survival gameplay, and it's brimming with personality that these talented people brought to the experience.
Are you kidding? This thing is like a baby's toy.
Sollen wir mal Zombies
DLC 3 would
zocken?
be the infamous map Shangri-La.
Was?
For good and bad reasons, this
Wieso?
map is at least very distinct and people remember it well. Shangri-La is easily one of the most polarizing maps in all of Zombies, and this was Jimmy Zielinski wanting to take the exact opposite approach in terms of design compared to the previous Kino and Ascension. This map follows a lot more closely to 5, where the layout is just so unforgiving. The corridors and paths choke you out, they're tight and small, and they never let you feel a sense of comfort even for a moment. Nobody really knows where this map actually takes place, maybe on Mars, maybe not, but it's in a mysterious jungle that was totally new to the Zombies palette at that time. Shangri-La also had some features that made the gameplay extremely challenging. Things like Pack-a-Punch in solo, you have to find a raised tile and then stand on it, and then you have limited time to get up to the waterfall and Pack-a-Punch. In co-op, each player has to stand on all 4 tiles at the same time, making playing with unresponsive randoms nearly impossible to upgrade without their cooperation. The mud pit also completely killed your speed, but zombies moved in this at normal rate. The spike traps, water jets, this map's flow is truly one of a kind. The main Easter egg involves you helping 2 individuals named Brock and Gary, 2 expeditioners that are stuck in a time loop, and the steps involve you, moving different traps out of their way so they don't die. It's like a trial and error sort of deal. And flipping between day and night cycles, this map requires so much cooperation to complete, but decently fun steps in the process. This map is practically the definition of stress, no matter how you're playing it, for survival or the Easter egg, but that said, it can be such a rewarding map to learn and understand. The map flow and strategies can be mastered with a little practice, and it makes this map not so intimidating as it initially was. There's a bunch of little features that make this map truly what it is. Monkeys can come steal your power-ups, but if you're good enough, you can manipulate them into dropping something better for you, potentially like a max ammo or even a free perk. For no reason at all, there are 2 power switches. The napalm zombies and the Screecher are excellent additions as mini-bosses that keep you on your toes. I maybe don't love their implementation exactly, but it's just weird things like this that belong in a map as unforgiving as Shangri-La. The Wonder Weapon, the 3179 JGB, or the Baby Gun, is a wonder weapon that literally does 0 damage on its own. It just makes zombies small, and then you can kick them around or blow them up. It's just weird creative stuff like this that only Jimmy Z has truly been able to capture with zombies. It's not to say that I don't like the work of Jason Blundell or Kevin True's work, but I'm just highlighting the strangeness of these ideas for a reason. It's impressive to me how much of a different flavor Shangri-La has compared to all of the other maps around it. It's definitely not for everyone, and some players are going to find it too oppressive. This is a lot of people's least favorite map in Black Ops 1, but I think BO1 would have been a lesser game without this. And that would finally take us to the final map of the season. Be the last brand new map to wrap up the season, but in Black Ops 1, technically they did Zombies Chronicles first here in a way. There was a map pack of all of the World at War maps that were remastered and ported over as well. Nocturne Totem, Farak, Shinonuma, and Darius are all added to this game for even more Zombies content, but I'm not going to analyze all of those maps at the level of detail I've done for these BO1 maps in this video. I'm going to save those for their respective game, but it's important to note that this is a huge amount of Zombies content on top of what it's already offering. I should also mention that DLC 4 originally wasn't even supposed to be Moon. This was going to be a map set in Paris, France, with the catacombs and the Eiffel Tower and such. This map was cut, however. It was even teased on the corkboard in Darius, but this map was ultimately scrapped because Jimmy Z felt that they needed to take zombies and end it on a bang for Black Ops 1. And what they wanted to do just wasn't possible with the Paris map. That could have potentially changed zombies forever, as the decision to make Moon was what ultimately led to Black Ops 2's events and map design, i.e. Transit was born because of this. Anyways, Moon managed to end off the season with a literal bang. It brought so many interesting concepts to the table, and some of them are genius, but some of them are terrible. But regardless, they all make Moon what it is today. So first thing you'll notice is when you spawn in on Area 51, here the zombie spawns are infinite and you actually can't pass around. You can stay here and try to survive as long as you want and gather points. If you last long enough, you can upgrade your pistols and even get a perk before round 1 even technically begins. As soon as you get on the moon though, the anti-gravity kicks in and the movement is way less precise.
Hostiles have the hard point. Enemy scout pulse detected.
You also have to wear a helmet that protects you from suffocating. As soon as you get the power on though, many of the indoor areas have gravity that returns, to normal, and you can breathe in those areas without a helmet. Main Easter egg on Moon is also very special. You do some Simon Says, you basically power up the MPD, you end up switching souls with Samantha, and eventually end up with launching rockets that don't blow up the Earth. It's easier said than done, as the steps of this quest rely heavily on getting the right weapons and equipment from the box, which is a slight negative in retrospect. I do have some major issues with Moon, like, for example, the main Easter egg is almost entirely dependent on RNG, and not to mention, the layout is also pretty horrible. It's very awkward to traverse from place to place sometimes, and that's amplified by the fact that excavators can get in the way and just straight up cut off areas of the map if not constantly attended to. Also, the mini-boss in the map is just terrible. The astronaut is objectively badly designed, and there's really no way around that. There isn't any, indicator to know where he is, besides very quiet radio chatter that's coming from his helmet that's barely even audible unless it's completely silent on the map. If he grabs you, he can take a perk and then teleport you to a random location if you get grabbed and fail to escape, obviously, and he does not give you any reward upon killing him. He's just as annoying as George Romero from a gameplay standpoint, and there's also no way to get rid of him forever. Also, having to choose between the hacker equipment and the helmet is just kinda stupid. You need the hacker for so many steps of the Easter egg, but if you break the glass in any of the indoor areas that you need to be in, you'll slowly die without a helmet, and that is by far the most frustrating aspect of Boom. It's ironic because the hacker can do a million things, like opening doors without points, you can hack more weapons out of the mystery box, and so on, but the one thing it needs to do is be able to rebuild these windows, which is one of the only things it cannot do. Not to mention, on Black Ops 1, the map's just kinda ugly visually, which is made even more apparent by how much better the Black Ops 3 version looks in comparison. While Doom has its major flaws and shortcomings that cannot be ignored, overall it can still be an absolute blast to play no matter what you're doing, and I'm always struck by how, despite them using the same engine and overall bones and components to build these zombies maps on BO1, just how different each one manages to feel and play from one another. It's a true testament to the creativity, the confidence, and passion Treyarch displayed with these maps. Each one was actually something special, and in a different way, it's like Black Ops 2, where there was something for everyone. What BO1 Zombies captured from its gameplay to its storytelling
Ich bin ja schon nicht tot, ist die Frage.
impact cannot be overstated, and it's the basic building blocks and foundations for our Zombies games now. Call of Duty Black Ops was an earth-shattering game when it came out. So much passion, intelligence, and creativity was poured into this project, and I hope it's been made clear that the genius of this game was not at all by accident. Each deliberate choice made all of us who fell in love with Black Ops do so for our own reasons, and just like many COD games, this is a shared experience that people bond over even now, and without it, who's to say where any of us would be? Black Ops 1 was lightning in a bottle, and again, while it has its real flaws, they're all a part of what make up this excellent experience, and at the end of the day, I have a real appreciation for it being a groundbreaking video game, but also a cultural icon that allowed people to make friends, share good times, and become the people they are today. I won't soon forget how this game made me feel, or the impact it had on all of our lives.
Hostile UAV established overhead.
Enemy Molotov pulse is online. Grenade coming in.
Ja, der Peach wusste ganz genau, dass er kommt.
Hostiles have captured the hard point.
Enemy spring mine.
Digga, was ein Peach.
Target down.
Digga, wie die alle da rumliegen
Hard
sind.
point
Ne?
identified. Damn it, we've lost the
Junge,
lead.
was? Meine...
Hard point active. Hostiles have the hard point.
The original Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare was absolutely legendary, but why? Why was it the title that changed everything? If you've played Call of Duty at all in the past 10 years, then COD 4 has had a massive influence on your experience. COD 4 is what is widely considered to be the birthplace of modern Call of Duty. Although the series did exist before the game, Call of Duty 1, 2, and 3, however, did not have the secret formula and the special sauce that made COD as a game stand out. It was just another World War II shooter until that fateful day, November 5th, 2007. This would be the title where Call of Duty discovered its identity. In fact, the sub-series Modern Warfare wasn't planned behind the scenes to be a trilogy. Infinity Ward were merely dying to make a modern-style shooter game, but just happened to be in the middle of making World War II shooters until they were finally given the opportunity to put all their new ideas into this project. But it was so successful, it would have been criminal not to capitalize on it. So why do I say COD 4 specifically was the birthplace of the brand? It seems odd that just this random installment would have such a large impact, but COD 4 pushed the envelope with what was thought to be possible in the FPS market in that era. And many of us aren't even old enough to quite recall the atmosphere of the Call of Duty community. When the game released in 2007, I was literally 9 years old, and I actually didn't get around to playing this game personally until 2008 after World at War had already released. In fact, I didn't even own my own game console. Instead, I would have to play at a friend's house or my cousin or somebody in the neighborhood. It was my first real experience with Call of Duty in some ways. The only other FPS I played were Medal of Honor and Halo prior to this. So I spent the summer nights of 2009 playing World at War and with my friend, being totally unaware of just how legendary of a game this would become.
Hard point is secured.
So, let's talk about nostalgia for a second. While it's easy to credit all the success to COD 4 as purely just that, a fond recalling of how simple everything was by comparison, thus inflating the value of that thing in question, to some degree, I think it plays a role here, but that nostalgia is triggered because something truly great was experienced. I say this all the time, but think about it. You don't have a sense of nostalgia for anything and everything back in 2007. I'd argue COD 4 was Call of Duty's first game to actually put them on the radar. Like for example, how many Bungie games can you name off the top of your head before the Halo series was made? They did a bunch of things before, but none are remembered quite like Halo. Similarly, Infinity Ward was able to grasp the attention of the gaming world with Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare specifically. Again, not saying games before it didn't exist, but this was the title that put an iron stake in the ground for Call of Duty as a brand. It was and still is the foundation in some sense, but with that in mind, it's impossible to hold the original COD 4 to the standards of gaming in 2022. And it's not that the game doesn't hold up with time, but everything by comparison just feels very quaint.
You get to choose your weapon, customize it with different attachments.
Junge, hör auf die ganze Zeit auf die Map zu gucken, ja.
Grips and grenade launchers. You can put camo on your gun, make it look different. And you also get to choose perks for your class that you're creating.
Modern day games are supposed to have all these things just as basic. So off anymore.
Let's get the
The
hell out
standard
of
for
here.
quality has gone up astronomically in the gaming industry, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but it meant for this review, it was virtually impossible to play the original game for the intended experience. You can't really play it on PC anymore, no controller support, I can't play it on older consoles, so getting a vanilla COD 4 experience that was, what we had back in the day was impossible to recreate, and Infinity Ward saw this coming, so they brought this game into a more modern day context with COD 4 Remastered that came out with Infinite Warfare back in 2016, remastered by Raven Software. Activision, nobody wanted to play Infinite Warfare. They tacked on COD 4 as a pre-order incentive. So most of the relevant footage you'll be seeing will be from the remaster, but in this review, we're going to be talking about both.
Samuel, wenn du willst, geh über deinen Account in Call of Duty rein. Ich will ganz kurz auf Toilette. Das Essen ist das. Deswegen, wenn du spielen willst, musst du Dings noch Spiel beenden und dann von deinem Account aus starten. Weißt du was? Ich habe ein bisschen Vertrauen in dir. Ich will über meinen Account einfach. So. Hier. Kannst Stakeout spielen. Stakeout ist eigentlich am safesten. Willst du Stakeout 24/7 oder normal? Stakeout ist diese ganz, ganz kleine Map im Haus.
Oh, doch.
Ja? Nicht normal? Normal ist ja alle Maps.
Nee, mach dieses Stakeout.
Ja, okay.
Was für eine Knarre soll ich benutzen?
Ist nur eine einzige Knarre da. Du benutzt sie, bis sie auf Diamant ist. Wenn die auf Diamant ist. Was? Warte mal. Warum sagt das jetzt? Ich habe keine Sniper-Klasse. Das ist deine Knarre. Ich meine.
Ein Sniper.
Aber warum klappt das jetzt gerade nicht? Multiplayer. Also, hier. Die Knarre hier. Bis die auf Diamant ist. Ich glaube jetzt nicht, dass du es jetzt bis Diamant schaffst. Aber wenn du die hier auf Diamant kriegst, dann. Also du kannst eigentlich jede Knarre von denen spielen, ne? Die ich hier mache. Die sind eigentlich alle ziemlich gut. Glaube ich zumindest. Also die hier ist gut, die hier ist gut und die hier ist auch gut. Der Rest habe ich alles Diamant.
Ja, mach einfach. Runde.
Ja, warte, ich muss ganz kurz. Pipisch. Das ist die LCC. Auch Digga, jetzt habe ich schon mal gemacht. Aber die Saug ist auf jeden Fall am besten.
Die Sau?
Hier, die Knarre hier heißt Saug.
Was ist Sau?
Das ist die Knarre hier.
Ja.
Das ist die beste Knarre.
Also ich muss einfach gewinnen, ne?
Ja, und versuche mal Erster zu werden. Eigentlich scheiß auf Erster, mach einfach so viel Kills wie du kannst. Aber versuch auch immer Erster zu werden. Wenn
Hier-
du Erster, Zweiter,
Hier ist John
Dritter
Wick. John Wick ist in der Runde. Ich
Was?
werde verlieren.
Oh.
Der ist John Wick.
bist. So. Ja, wenn du Erster, Zweiter oder Dritter wirst, Steuerkreuz nach rechts immer. Weil das ist Black Ops 1 der Mode und das ist wichtig.
Okay.
All threats.
That's a kid.
Digga, benutzt du alle Pump? Okay. Okay. Was für Pump? Digga, ich spawne und sterbe. Das ist krass. Was zur Hölle? Digga!
Enemy with Semtex.
Grenade incoming.
Enemy spotted.
Enemy grenade. Eyes on hostile.
Target dropped.
Tschüss. Schnell nach, doch schneller.
Oi, enemy grenade.
Squad kill.
We've taken control.
Heads up. Molotov inbound.
This shit ain't working. We've lost the advantage.
Have eyes on. Concussion grenade
Lead
sighted.
charge. MTC's in the red. It's now or never.
Simtex, front.
Falling behind.
Enjoy. Spring mine spot. Fucking sandbags on me. Tossing Semtex. Destroyed enemy mine. Contacts down.
RTB Black Ops.
Was? Ein Kill! Ein Kill!
We've established Black Ops
Ein
sites for new
Kill!
business.
Nein! Sogar bester Play, Digga.
Get down.
Ist das krank? Ein Kill? Mir ist mir zu scheiße.
Taking A. Zone A secure. We got the lead. Now hold it. We lost B.
Enemy marked for down.
Taking C.
Now's our chance.
Armed hostile.
Scheiß Pumpspieler.
Securing B.
Grenade.
Damn it, we lost the lead. We're losing Alpha. Taking Bravo underway. Bravo zone secure. We've lost Alpha. Locking down Charlie.
Starting capture.
Zone C secure.
Digga, das sind 4 Leute bei mir. Die bekommen nicht mal einen Typen vorbei. Digga,
We're losing Charlie.
Pumpspieler.
Lead dive. Taking B.
So,
Come
hier,
on,
hier.
you're losing this fight. They're taking C. Marking down Bravo.
Heads down. Sniper.
Secured. We lost C. Securing Charlie.
Got one.
Komm. Komm mit Ansage.
Charlie secured.
Shit, jetzt die ganze Zeit.
Securing zone A. Losing Bravo.
Get down!
Bravo lost. Take it out.
Think the capture underway.
Alpha secure. Losing A. Taking Bravo underway. We're losing Charlie. We're losing Alpha.
Tally. Mine.
We're taking C. We lost A. All
Take
zones
this
lost.
once. Do not fuck with me.
Mark it down, Bravo.
Jetzt kommt.
Bravo is ours.
Digga, hä?
Securing Alpha.
They're gone.
Securing all.
Was?
Securing C.
Shit. Sniper working. Sharpshooter removed.
Digga.
Taking C. We control zone C.
Frag set.
We're losing Charlie.
Ja, Keiner gesehen. Oh.
We lost Charlie. Securing zone A.
Incoming sentence!
Ist überhaupt noch alles raus?
Sleep easy.
Securing C.
Taking this objective. Enemy planting mine.
Go Charlie, locked
Heads
down.
down. Sniper.
Syntax.
Taking all zones.
Und Safe hier rein. Rocket. Und sag.
Semtex front! They're clear.
All engagement secured. Hold your position.
You didn't think I'd let that go, did
Losing
you?
A. We're losing Alpha. Nice. We're pulling ahead.
Online. BDA will
Losing A. They're taking C.
Tally. Mine.
Safe rein jetzt halt.
Losing B. We're losing Alpha. Losing A.
Spring my eyes on enemy.
Bravo.
Shit.
We lost B. We're losing Charlie. Securing B.
Throwing fire.
Lost C. B locked down.
Impact grenade. Get down. Enemy throwing stun.
We're losing Alpha.
Matey. Been a minute. How you going?
Losing B.
enemy patrol!
Hold fire. I'm on your side. That's the thermo. Wasted.
Losing A.
Enemy planting mine.
Losing Bravo. We're losing Alpha. Losing A. lost Alpha. Losing B. We lost all zones. Taking A.
Ja, die sind alle dort im Badezimmer oder was auch immer das ist. Ja, das ist nach Badezimmer. Wie konnte er im Badezimmer übernehmen?
Taking B. Locking down Charlie. Losing A. Taking Bravo underway. All zones lost.
Oh mein
Control zone C.
Gott.
Bravo is armed. They're taking C. Secure it out.
Enemy signal. Semtex
We're
equal.
losing Charlie.
Spring line spotted.
Losing Bravo. Take it out. Bravo lost. Securing Alpha.
I'll say this once. Do not fuck with me.
They're taking
Frank's
C.
in.
Target down Bravo. We're losing Charlie. B locked down. Losing B. They're taking C. Losing Bravo.
Eyes on Semtex.
Take it out.
Thanks.
Losing B. We're losing Charlie. Taking A. We lost Charlie.
Capturing. Keep an eye out.
Zone Alpha captured. Losing Bravo.
Set in mine.
Gott.
Enemy grenade.
We're losing Alpha.
Trophy systems there. Hold fire. I'm on
You're
your
a Charlie.
side. I'm on the objective.
Losing B.
Hostile removed. Single.
Losing A.
Digga.
Sending the Semtex.
Das ist krass.
Get away. Get away.
Lost A.
Moving back.
Having the objective. Stay sharp.
You're in Zone A. Taking C.
Throwing frag.
Stun him.
Losing Bravo.
Boden, ja.
We lost all zones. Locking down Charlie.
Digga.
Zone C secure. Securing B. Securing Alpha.
Beginning capture. Obey your best shot.
Take it out. All zones are being locked down. They're taking C. Bravo zone secure. Take it A.
Enemy planting mine. Mine planted.
We're losing Charlie. All objectives locked down.
Tally,
Hold
mine.
those SOBs back. They're taking C. We're losing Alpha. We're losing Charlie. Losing A.
This one.
Semtex close. Enemy mine, front.
No medals in second
Take
place.
this one.
Crush those dirtbags. We've lost Alpha. Securing Zone A.
Just like old times. Enemy planting mine.
Let's go.
Hell of a show today, Black.
Weiter.
Hell of a job, crew. Someone pull us out so we can celebrate.
This objective's mine. Try me. Tally one.
Solo spielt er dafür eine gaye Waffe. Okay, let's go.
You know what Langley expects. Get it done.
Ansage. Hier, ein Kill. Die haben extra gewartet. Ach du Scheiße, die warten ja. Ich mich extra. Fünfer Kill oder so.
Ceasefire. Friendly target.
Frag out.
Hä? Was brauchen wir jetzt hier jetzt hier?
Gotta move 'em. Hostile down. Thermal incoming.
Ich geh hier durch. Lass es abprallen, so Bonbon.
Incoming stun.
Hey, die leben ja alle. Leute, das werden tote Leichen. Das sind die. Na, schon von wieder. Ja, sehr schöne Kills gemacht. Ist tot? Oh, Digga, ich hab zu spät gecheckt.
Spring mine with hostile concussion spotted. 5 kills. Throwing frag. Enemy spy neutralized. Okay, practice is over. We got a sniper.
Sehen nicht.
Threat eliminated. Hostile, hostile.
Ja, das Wonder Tree. Digga, warum hat er die Tür zugemacht?
Took out that traitor. Engaging mover. Hostile flashbang. Semtex front.
Will ich hier durchwaschen? Nein, Schätze hat so dick in der Granate gepasst.
Enemy mover spotted.
Digga, Fisch.
Enemy target eliminated.
Kommt hier keiner? Ja, what the fuck? Kommt der jetzt noch?
Hostile terminated. Enemy grenade. Stim shot.
Hier nicht mehr drin.
Hostile thermal.
Fragchen, Kind.
Incoming stun. Enemy using sleeper agent.
Was? Warum verliert ihr? Bitte.
Kill confirmed.
Was zur Hölle?
Thermal incoming.
Ja, das kann wirklich nicht sein. 57
Stop the
Kills,
bleeding. RTB, we're
mehr als ein Drittel, habe ich alleine gemacht.
Someone owes me a fiver.
And hunt the enemies down. HVT is taking fire. Keep the package safe. Our HVT has been eliminated.
friendly.
Protect our
Oh mein
HVT.
Gott. Ekelhaft.
HVT
Hier,
under fire.
hier.
Repeat, HVT under fire.
Ja, ich will auch nur meinen scheiß Granat werfen, ja? Was ist der jetzt schon wieder?
They got our HVT. We took out their HVT. Friendly HVT on site. Keep them safe. Hostile HVT located.
I got the shot.
HVT is taking fire. Keep the package safe. Enemy HVT is down. Enemy HVT on site. Take them out.
Traitor.
HVT under fire. Repeat, HVT under fire.
Oh, bitte.
Now hold it. We took out their HVT.
Ja, warum kennt dort immer jemand? Wirklich immer.
Hostile HVT located. Hostiles reclaim the lead. Our HVT has been eliminated.
Eyes on enemy.
You are our HVT. Stay alert. Protect our HVT. HVT is taking fire. Keep the package
Spotted
safe.
blast trap.
Digga, ich verbrenne oder was?
Blast trap identified.
Toter Modus. Toter Modus.
Sniper is dead.
Enemy HVT is down. HVT under fire. Repeat, HVT under fire. Enemy HVT on site. Take them out.
Enemy found.
They got our HVT. Took out their HVT. Friendly HVT on site. Keep them safe.
Ja, woher weiß der, dass ich da
Hostile
bin?
HVT located. HVT is taking fire. Keep the
Planting
package
spring
safe. Our HVT has been eliminated. Protect our HVT.
Hostile C4.
Digga, er ist knocked.
Frag out.
your spring mine.
Wozu ist der? Bro, er ist die ganze Zeit in der Ecke. Ne?
HVT under fire. Repeat, HVT under fire.
Eyes on shock charge. Spotted blast.
Enemy HVT on site. Take them out. They got our HVT.
Eat this.
Grenade coming in.
We took out their HVT. Friendly HVT on site. Keep them safe. Hostile HVT located. HVT is taking fire. Keep the package safe.
Bitte Granate kommen.
The lead is ours. They've taken the lead.
Oh. Wenn ich doch dort reinrenne, dann müssen wir auch hinterherkommen.
They've taken the lead. Stay on task. Enemy HVT
Wir alle
is
nur so
down.
Gay-Waffen? Scheint schon.
Enemy HVT on site. Take them out.
Spotted blast trap.
Digga.
You're falling behind, Crimson. HVT under fire. Repeat, HVT under fire. We've given up the lead. Our HVT has been eliminated. Protect our HVT. HVT is taking fire. Keep the package safe. We took out their HVT.
Digga, die kommen auch immer 5 Leute auf einmal.
Hostile HVT located.
Wow, 1 HP, bitte.
The lead is ours. Enemy HVT is down. They got our
Oh.
HVT.
Frag out.
We're winning. Keep it that way. Friendly HVT on site. Keep them safe. HVT under fire.
Digga.
Repeat, HVT under fire. We've claimed the advantage. Now hold it. Hostiles reclaimed the lead. Our HVT has been eliminated.
Nein, schon.
Protect our HVT.
Das hier noch.
Time short. Put your head down and secure the target. We took out their HVT. HVT is taking fire. Keep the package safe. We've taken the lead. Stay on task. Enemy
Ja,
HVT
bitte.
on site. Take them out. They've taken the lead. Enemy HVT is down. HVT under fire. Repeat, HVT under fire. Hostile HVT located. Friendly HVT on site. Keep them safe.
Ja, ich bitte dich. Ich soll nur so schwule Waffen spielen. Ist ja hier.
Taking fire. Keep the package safe.
Perfekt.
We took out their HVT. Enemy HVT on site. Take them out.
Jetzt wird es
You're
verlieren.
dead.
Digga.
Underwhelming effort.
It is
Good
over
dog.
for us. All stations withdraw.
Natürlich der gaye Obdachlose, der hier den besten Film hat. Der gaysten Waffe, die ich jemals gesehen habe.
Oye, trap sighted. Here.
Threats.
Digga, ach du Scheiße. Wie schwul.
Heads up. Frag concussion for good mind. Stun coming in. Throwing shot down. Hostile shot spotted. Step next on me.
Was zur Hölle ist das?
Dropping a spring mine. Enemy's got a shot. Enemy with Semtex. Enemy flashbang. Spring mine spotted.
Und so, das sind die.
They've got a scrambler. Heads up, frag. Enemy throwing stun.
Komm bitte, bitte. Tja. Warte. Bitte, bitte.
They've got an assault pack. Hostile shock spotted. Throwing frag. Enemy with Semtex. Enemy flashbang. Eyes up. Get away, get away. Enemy stun coming in.
Digga, was zur Hölle ist das? Warum? Was ist das für ein Elektro-Dingen? Was?
Enemy with Semtex.
Von wo kommt die ganze Zeit?
They've got an assault pack. You sneaky bastard. I'm on your side. Callie, mine. I see a scrambler.
Was ist auf dem Mondenschiff?
Mine neutralized.
Oder...
Enemy with Semtex. Contact's down. Five down.
Hier ist der LC10. So, mit gesaugt.
Weil ich hier... Genau.
Clock's ticking, Black Ops. Close this shit down.
Ja, ich spawne.
Enemy spotted.
So Lust, Digga.
Spring mine spotted. Grenade coming in. Enemy stun coming in.
Ey, nein,
That's the thermite.
Ja, kannst du ja nicht.
Enemy throwing stuff.
Bravo fucking Zulu, Black Ops.
That's right, dickheads. Piss off.
Dank dir, 5. Platz. 5.
Ich war erster, ich war erster, hab Best, Geld, aber trotzdem verloren bei der
Hart. Komm rein, Kollege. Mach mal Heizung aus, wenn an ist. Hey, demnächst bist du ja Prestige 1.
Wow. Dang. These can't be easy to deal with. Caught your negative thoughts. Let me see what they say.
My name is as worthless as I am. I failed to protect everything that was important to me. Throughout my life, I was unable to accomplish any of my goals.
Was?
We have our orders. See it
Both
through.
games, essentially. Well, they
Crazy.
have mostly when it comes to aesthetics. In terms of core gameplay, they're largely the same thing. So the remaster would come with a few more bells and whistles, like loot boxes and such. But
Digga, was ist
don't
denn die
worry,
Map hier?
we're gonna get there. So whether you played the original COD 4, the remaster, or both, I think you'll understand me when I say it's not that the game
Hostiles
didn't
have planted
age
the
well.
bomb.
It's just that the game's core is still very basic and simple when directly comparing it to any Call of Duty in the past 10 years.
Crazy, ich bin Prestige 2 und sehe immer noch jeden Tag neue Maps, ey.
Enemy captured.
Watch your fire!
Bomb offline.
Target appears up!
Jeden anderen Call of Duty hätte ich bis jetzt jede Map auswendig gekannt. Aber hier finde ich jedes Mal neu.
Enemy planted the bomb.
Einfach weil die nicht gewählt werden. Ja. Warum habe ich 3 Semtex von mir? Warum ich 3 Semtex habe?
Difference between
Enemy
you and
charge
me,
is set.
I learn from my mistakes.
Och nee, nicht dieser Spielmodus. Ich dachte, ich hätte den rausgemacht.
Bomb deactivated.
Incoming flashbang!
But they...
And I mean that in
Hostile
a
UAV
mostly
established
positive
overhead.
way. It was accessible to everyone, which is why the game did so well. And it was light years ahead of the competition that it had back in 2007. In fact, we're all used to Call of Duty having 3 separate main experiences for content, but COD 4 only had 2. Campaign and multiplayer. Spec Ops wouldn't be introduced until Modern Warfare 2, and zombies wouldn't even exist until the following year. The game is a relic of the times, and while the content offered wouldn't fly in our current day, the waves of influence caused by COD 4 still resonate in game design even now. So, as much as COD 4 was pushing the boundaries of FPS games and finding its own formula with gameplay features, something I found extremely interesting, Infinity Ward mostly marketed this game for the technical advancements. It was touted as the most realistic and immersive looking game in the Call of Duty franchise thus far. Again, that statement and how the game looks now seems kind of hilarious to us, but COD 4 came out at a time when games would improve visually at an accelerated rate.
Well, it took time. It took the engineers this much time to learn top of the old game. We just kept going. Never stopped. You know, it's all about refining the lighting and refining everything we had to get it to work better.
Think about it like this. In the early 2000s, for example, huge strides were made every year to make games more realistic and immersive. Technology evolved, and there was a lot of room for improvement to begin with. You compare that to now, that acceleration has kind of topped out. Games look so realistic now, you actually can't even get much better. Sure, there are minor improvements every year, but at some point, the acceleration of visual movement grinded to a halt, or at best, a snail's pace. It's the basic law of diminishing returns. And the main reason, they kind of hit the ceiling on what constitutes better visuals to begin with. But the original COD 4, when that acceleration of improvement was near its peaks, it genuinely was the best looking Call of Duty game at that time by a mile, and the remaster shows just how far graphical fidelity has come in the past 15 years or so. COD 4 was also the first game in the series to start using mocap technology for the character animations. Once again, mocap is the most basic tool for creating games now, but it was a selling point to market back in the early 2000s era.
The graphics are just coming alive. Really had to rely upon motion capture. It's our first time doing it. Wow.
Call of Duty was also one of the only games that had this level of complexity, but still ran at 60 FPS. Again, that sounds so quaint or standard now. Games need to come out of the box at least 60 or it gets laughed at, but being able to pull off this level of detail, this many players, and maintain a smooth 60 FPS on hardware like the PS3 and Xbox 360 was a massive reason to choose this game over the competition. So the point is, COD 4 wasn't exactly selling itself on its new features and formula that we're going to explore the genius of later in the video. It was really pushing the improvement in graphical fidelity and technical innovation, but its legacy would be defined both by that and the choices it made in game design, the campaign structure, and so on. So join me today as we jump back in time to extract the real secrets behind Call of Duty 4's success as a game.
Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare is going to be the best first-person shooter on the PC, Xbox 360, and PS3 coming out this November.
Hey, not going to take up too much time. Just want to say if you're enjoying, please drop a like on the video. It helps out tremendously. And if you're enjoying, make sure to subscribe to stick around for more. You can also watch my other COD reviews. I've done one for almost every single Call of Duty game at this point. So go check them out after this one. But just that's all I want to say. Back to your regularly scheduled program. The two masterminds behind the genius of the original Modern Warfare title were these lads named Grant Collier and Vince Zampella. While in current day, Vince Zampella is still head of Respawn Entertainment, admittedly much less is known about Grant Collier these days, but these two gentlemen took Infinity... and its staff of around 100 or so, full of ideas and experience to attempt a modern-day shooter as stated, they've only made World War II games up to this point, and they wanted to make a modern game right after Call of Duty 1. But as Xbox launch title deals would have it, they had to ship COD 2 as another World War II game, and then Treyarch made Call of Duty 3, yet another World War II game. So finally, IW had the chance to break the mold and put all their new ideas on full display. And these ideas were what gave Call of Duty its identity. For example, this is where the entire system of Create a Class was born. Create a Class now is fundamentally tied to the core COD formula so much that it would be jarring if a game didn't have it anymore. Also, the introduction of the contemporary killstreak system, probably the biggest reason this game did so well. The core gameplay of shooting enemies in-game now became both addicting and rewarding, but more on the killstreak system later in the video though. It also had the first ever iteration of the prestige system. Just like Create a Class was something that added a sense of progression and identity to the brand, and has been a part of every title since, or up until recently, I guess. And something I feel isn't talked about enough, the first game to have these real kill pop-up animations, you know, for doing objectives or getting kills in-game. Technically, COD 2 had these, but they weren't done nearly this well until COD 4. While this doesn't seem like anything groundbreaking, I'd argue this in conjunction with the kill streaks is the very core of what makes Call of Duty gunplay satisfying, and they probably didn't even think about it like that. It was just a function of the new progression and prestige system. But all these things we take for granted in current day COD were absolutely earth-shattering back in 2007. It was literally the very definition of innovation and advancement in every sense of the word. While I cannot personally recall what the sentiment of the community was like in the air at that time, as I was far too young, as far as I can tell, this game blew everyone's expectations out of the water. While not perfect, it was easily regarded as the best game up to that point. And from a gameplay and technical perspective, it was hard to argue with that. Infinity Ward also had plenty of external help in the form of military advisors, actual soldiers who were recently deployed, and so on, to get as much of the authentic feel as possible, while still being a fun video game. COD 4 as a project went through a lot of iterations. For example, the original campaign opened up very differently to the game we have now, starting out on this desert rooftop instead, and even the first mission of the campaign now, on the boat in the middle of the sea, was originally supposed to be the last mission of the game, on a harbor instead of the middle of the sea. Not only that, it was supposed to be the final confrontation with Al-Assad instead of Zakhaev like we have now. So my point is, COD 4 went through a number of redrafts, refinements, and rearrangements to create the finalized product, and I think they found the sweet spot with all of the content offered. Like I said, this game was a little more simple, so I want to start by diving into the campaign of COD 4 and how the characters from this story somehow are the same ones we are still playing in 2022. What precisely was it that made this campaign so beloved? Well, let's go explore that. The thing I find the most fascinating about the original Modern Warfare story is the fact that all the characters, imagery, and moments that are considered iconic now were not self-proclaimed to be inherently badass back then. In other words, they didn't overemphasize things like Captain Price, the ghillie suit mission, Gaz, or anything that is constantly referenced in newer Modern Warfare games. For example, Soap himself is such a core piece to the puzzle of Modern Warfare in 2022, but in COD 4, he was just a guy. In fact, he doesn't say one word throughout the entire campaign. They didn't use Soap because he was badass beforehand. They just needed the guy for the player to engage with and Price to deliver story exposition to. It was the player's reaction after the fact that made people think Soap and Price and Gaz were badass. COD 4 also pretty much set the structure of every single Modern Warfare campaign ever, and that includes the reboots. You have a few different villains, a few factions that have interconnected conflicts, and you jump all over the place, zooming from location to location and playing as someone else. Infinity Ward, specifically with this sub-series, have never had the most airtight plots, genius level character writing, or anything like that. While the stories and characters are good, however, the Modern Warfare games typically shine from the unique gameplay situations and variety in level design. They don't tend to dwell on one thing or one place for too long, and that makes them easy to play through in one sitting. And while the story of COD 4 isn't really much of a thinker, it's fairly straightforward in terms of like character depth and plot detail. That's why it works. It's not trying to be something it isn't. COD 4, in fact, has a completely silent player-protagonist approach, and it works great here. I gave Ghost a lot of grief for its silent protagonist, but why doesn't it work in that game? Because Ghost is much more of a character-driven story, and Modern Warfare just isn't. Price, Gaz, Soap, Sergeant Paul Jackson, and so on are essentially just vehicles for the plot to unfold. But the funny thing is, we love these characters because they weren't asking to be loved. I'd also like to point out, this game's got some real teeth to it. It still, uses real videos and images to deliver a story occasionally, while not nearly on the same level as like Treyarch games. Using real images certainly helps to ground it, and the player doesn't have to suspend their disbelief quite as much. Also, the characters can die in just very brutal, matter-of-fact kind of ways. Finding that balance just
Boots on the ground.
Digga, ich bin Level 20, das ist crazy. Schon wieder am Buggen. Digga, was? Warum ist das jetzt am Buggen? Das jetzt erst einmal. Even? Ja, ist das am Buggen, Sammy? Du machst mein Spiel kaputt. Nicht? Keine Ahnung, Call of Duty macht das selbst. Sammy, guck mal R1. Oder ein L1. Ich weiß, echt crazy. Du musst gucken, wo. Jetzt geh mal R1. Geh mal auf deine Knarren. Jetzt gehen wir zurück. Drück L1. Warum zur Hölle habe ich jetzt hier 9? Genau. Das ist am Buggen. Warum ist dieses Spiel immer nur am Buggen? So. Ah nein, wir machen Filter Hardpoint Domination Headquarters. Ja, das klingt spaßig. Kill confirmed, Overdrive Demolition. Stakeout.
Recommendation: reconsider actions. Return to basic training.
Need good boots on the ground.
Sorry. Willst du Black Ops 3 kaufen, damit wir mit Errol zusammenspielen können? Ja, guck. Warte, ich muss ganz kurz Bildschirm aufräumen. Oder was sie da gemacht hat, hier dieser Emote. Und dann hat er auf einer Knarre geschrieben, er ist schwul, er ist noch schwuler.
Superior firepower, superior defenses, superior performance.
The 54 Immortals crush all opposition.
Thought you had me? I was always one step ahead.
That's right. I'm your worst nightmare in the TOO.
I got an army at my back. Who's got yours?
Superior firepower, superior defenses, superior performance.
The 54 Immortal.
Shoot to kill. We're not here to
Just
negotiate.
between realism and fun game
Git
design.
gut, Sami. Git gut, Sami. Oh, der Junge ist tot. Absolut weggelasert. Pass auf, hier kommt jetzt einer. Der guckt, habe ich doch gesagt. So.
So basically, you have a Russian ultranationalist named Zakhaev, and what is for all purposes a dictator named al-Assad. They're working together in the form of weapon exchanges and such. And the U.S. Marines are going after al-Assad. Pretty straightforward premise and setup for your bad guys. The opening is also super strong and grips you right away. You get a lot of great world-building stuff as you momentarily play as President al-Thani, where you have to watch the state of your nation crumble under the takeover of al-Assad. The car ride is kind of long and allows you to really absorb your world, and the tone is set right away.
Triggering scout post.
Incoming stun.
Then you get taken out of the car, and you see both Zakhaev and al-Assad in cooperation. Zakhaev hands him the weapon that he uses to execute the president and claim leadership.
Hostile using assault pack.
There, banger opening that makes you hate the bad guys, as is kind of required for stories like this. But before we continue with the story, I want to draw your attention to something in the gameplay. Again, this is a relic of the times. Training sequences and campaigns now are really outdated. They're boring, devs don't even like doing them, but they feel like they have to in order to get the player comfortable with the mechanics. And this one is literally as basic as it gets. It's a training sequence with targets. There's other games that do this training without you even realizing it, but this is not one of those games. People have made their own mini games specifically as a spin-off of this training sequence alone, but that's not really the point I'm making. In fact, I think the first few missions themselves are actually good enough as training sequences, and you could just cut this part out entirely. I mean, there's some kind of fun character stuff here, but ultimately feels very disconnected from the rest of the game.
What the hell kind of name is
So anyways, the majority of this game and its storytelling are told in the classic AV style format, where the A story is Price, Gaz, and Soap going around, meeting with their informants, gathering information on the warehouses of Kiev,
dem da ist einer oben.
dangerous nuclear weapons, or, find
Einer ist im Haus, willst du den holen?
starting some kind of global war. Very undercover in their approach, and each mission has that kind of undertone. The opener mission on the boat, the house invasion, etc.
Digga, es sind zwei oben.
U.S. Marines, and more specifically Paul Jackson, just another regular soldier doing what they can to put a stop to al-Assad's forces and eventually take him out. So most of the missions involve cutting back and forth between those two situations and learning that both Zakhaev and al-Assad both have second-in-command, combined making them the four horsemen with their motivations properly established. Honestly, the villains themselves don't get terribly much screen time, which is probably the biggest sin as it relates to this story. Al-Assad is present way more than Zakhaev, and you never really get to see them in-game anywhere besides a few close encounters. But allow me to come back to gameplay for just a second. I'm not gonna lie, the gameplay itself is where the Modern Warfare campaign really shows its age. Its wrinkles and crust are on painfully full display sometimes. There are extremely awkwardly paced moments in the sequences sometimes. Yeah, score 1 for military intelligence.
Come on, we need to get moving before the search parties get here.
Why did he say that so weird? Gameplay can be very basic as well, and the red barrels in this game, God help me. I hate these with a burning passion. They are so incredibly frustrating. I understand their purpose, but they really do not belong in this kind of level design. But worst of them all, the technology that they would use AI logic would very often cause level-breaking glitches if an AI happened to get stuck somewhere.
Enemy still. Good attack on target. Hostile appears KIA.
This would occur both in the original COD 4 and even the remaster. By their own admittance, the AI logic is the weakest point of the technology they had. This would contribute to strange pacing, downright broken levels a lot of the time.
Gotta move up. Damn it, check your sights.
No, a lot of people think that campaign levels are designed first and then MP ones. Sometimes that's true, but in COD 4, my understanding, MP maps were actually completed first, and they literally just use the same layout a lot of the time for the single-player missions, albeit a little bit altered occasionally, but largely the MP maps and campaign levels are identical. In more modern Call of Duty, MPs are inspired offshoots from campaign levels, usually not one-to-one copies or recreations, but that really isn't much the case here. There's also some really dated moments in the dialogue and level design. Again, kind of cute or awkward now, depending on how you look at it, but it was par for the course in that era of time. Now, back to the story. Eventually, this wild goose chase for Al-Assad comes to a point where, nailing down the supposed location of him, some complications arise as you send your U.S. Marines there. You have to go back to save some downed squad mates, but then a nuke gets set off.
Attempting to disarm. I repeat, we have a confirmed nuke.
You guys are oben.
Got a sniper.
Everyone, hang on!
Wiping out a really large amount of Marine forces. I love this segment from a storytelling perspective. The absolute dread of knowing that you lost all your squad mates as they succumb to the nuclear blast, and then eventually yourself. It really soaks in like, damn, we actually just lost. And it really lets that moment impact the player, thus raising the stakes for the rest of the game and making it that much more meaningful. Paul Jackson at this point is KIA, and now the player is only in control of SOAP or occasionally a flashback mission with Price. So basically, with some intel from your boy Kamarov, you've pinpointed Assad's true location to hold him responsible for the nuclear detonation. You find him in a barn, interrogate him, his phone rings and Price picks up and immediately executes Al-Assad. Because it was revealed at this point, Zakayev was the one who was responsible for supplying it. This takes us to a flashback mission playing as Price and following Captain McMillan in probably the most famous mission in all of Modern Warfare, All Gillied Up. This is also the most experimental level in the game as well. Infinity Ward had stated that they were on the fence about doing this in the first place, and for a long time, the level was a mess. The AI didn't work properly, and it was a buggy disaster. It could have very well never made the final cut, but they got it to a, mostly working state, and now this is many people's favorite mission in the Call of Duty franchise. But anyways, as this mission unfolds, you make your way through post-nuclear incident Chernobyl, and the atmosphere and tone is haunting even to this day. It's so easy to pinpoint how this mission feels, like you know it if you've played it, and it's paced so well. Each piece of dialogue is for a reason, and the world around you feels really believable and authentic. Well, mostly that is. And through this, it's revealed to us that Price and Captain McMillan were attempting to assassinate Zakayev around Chernobyl during a deal, with him being vulnerable and in the open, hitting him with a sniper shot from an absurdly long distance. You hit him, but he ended up surviving this attack. So, with the death of Al-Assad, all the Zakayev fanboys are now coming to claim him, and you have to battle them off until some exfil is able to arrive. But you still need to locate Zakayev, and the way this is done is through his son, Victor. Again, all the little details about like how they got there, how they knew Zakayev's son would be a surefire thing, and little details like that just aren't really that important. Once again, it was never an anti-plot or a genius-level story, but a fun experience nonetheless. This mission, you disguise as the enemy and prepare to ambush them. A chase through the streets goes on as it's imperative you take Victor alive, but when cornered and with nowhere left to run, Victor does the job himself.
You put one in his leg, so no, we can't risk it. Open fire. So take his weapon and restrain.
Let's
make moves.
Was? Aber du einfach auf dieser Map, das ist durch. Aber so einfach zu der Map ist crazy.
So that falls through, but raises the stakes higher because Imran Zakhaev will now blame the US and British forces for the death of his son. So now the clock's really ticking. In your attempt to shut down the missile sites under Zakhaev's control, a missile gets launched that's headed straight for the US and will result in a ton of casualties. Thus, the actual ticking clock element is now in play, and the stakes are at an all-time high. It's absolutely the peak of the story. You fight heavy resistance through the bunker, and when you make it to the control room, you're able to upload codes that disarm the missile before it's able to strike and detonate.
Stand by for confirmation. Stand by.
Gleich im Bürgerhaus.
Stand by. Bravo 6, all warheads have been confirmed destroyed.
Wusstest du, diese Map hier wurde, glaube ich, inspiriert für eine Dings aus einer MW2-Mission. Weil in einer MW2-Mission ist man die ganze Mission im Bürgerhaus und muss es vor den Russen verteidigen. War es keine Ahnung mehr, vor wem man es verteidigt. Und das war man nicht verteidigt.
Target eliminated. Flight. We got a ton of debris, but most of it's landing in the ocean.
So, a massive crisis is averted, but that doesn't solve the problem still of Zakhaev. As you're escaping the facility, you're ambushed by Zakhaev and his forces in the final confrontation on the bridge. In the final moments, Zakhaev kills Gaz with no remorse and is cleaning everyone else up. When Price slides you a weapon.
Sami, das ist eigentlich
This is without a doubt a real satisfying moment to conclude this story, and something I've noticed, because they weren't necessarily planning on sequels, all the threads are resolved by the very end. Think about some of the newer campaigns, they aren't closing off as neatly because they're leaving room for more games. Not saying it's a bad thing all the time, but you get my point. The story is written to be self-contained here. Of course, it works with a sequel, but it's also just as enjoyable as a one-off story. Like I said before, this was never the most intricate or mind-blowing sequence of events. It was a story in service to the experience that is the overall package. That is to say, they built a good game first and attached a good narrative to complement it. So that combined with the, locations and visual variety and gameplay situations is classic Infinity Ward masterclass. It's also a very good campaign, don't get me wrong, but I guess my only complaints are it feels extremely dated now, even when playing the remaster. Like, my gripes are mostly to do with the technical aspects and some awkward moments here and there, but I really do like how in the remastered version, the missions are separated by act. That's a really nice touch. And also, COD 4 had plenty of intel to find, and in doing so, you can apply certain conditions and cheats to change the experience, for example. Also, for some reason, COD 4 Remastered ends in a Call of Duty rap. I'm not kidding.
Haha, hand up, yo, shout out to Price, the one-handed bandit maker. Gas and Vasquez, disbanded any takers. If there's anyone greater, then show me. If not, then blow me. You can label the hater for side talk, I love it solely.
As a complete package, it was far ahead of the curve in 2007. In modern day, its age is certainly visible, but that doesn't make it unplayable by any means. It was also a much longer campaign than I remember. Some missions are total filler, meaning they don't really push the plot along, which is just so they can have more locations, and that's fine, I guess, but I think the real secret behind what made it legendary was the fact that it was not trying too hard to be liked. All the characters come across so effortlessly, and same with the gameplay. It's like, here's what our game is, take it or leave it. It's not pandering or fan servicey at all. It just wanted to be a fun game with a story to invest you in the moment. And I think it does a pretty good job at that goal. And I often say that a COD's campaign, generally speaking, is the foundation for the multiplayer, but in this case, it kind of is the multiplayer. There's a lot of shared mechanics and maps, obviously, but now it's time to get down to the juicy part. How was COD 4's multiplayer really the mode that established this game in the hearts of many of us? I wonder why exactly. Let's get to it.
Boah, wie schlecht war das denn, Sammy? Ach du Scheiße, what the hell? Sammy, das
I like to say that Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer had its work cut out for it back in 2009. All it needed to do was advance on this formula, but COD 4 was the creator of the formula itself, as it were. Don't know how else to emphasize it. This is where Call of Duty's core gameplay was born. With the introduction of all the new features, this became the bedrock for the decade to come. But these were all introduced at the same time, giving an astronomical amount of evolution compared to its older counterparts. And the thing is, it worked. People absolutely fell in love with this game, from its maps to its guns, kill streaks, perks, prestige system, and so on. The advancements compared to Call of Duty 2 were incomprehensible. They weren't kidding when they said this was the best thing Infinity Ward had made up to that point. Now, as being the first real draft of the COD MP formula that we're all very familiar with now, it has some clear, sharp edges, we'll say. Some things in this multiplayer are totally broken, entirely useless, or just downright comical. Like, I still find it hilarious how Eavesdrop is a real perk. This lets you hear enemy microphone voice chatter. Yes, like in-game mic chatter.
Digga, das ist crazy. Stell dir mal vor, in normal Modern Warfare 1, ne? Da gibt es ein Dings, da gibt es einen Perk, womit du die Gegner, also den Gegner Voice Chat hören kannst. Das wusste ich bis gerade auch nicht. Normalerweise hört man ja nur von seinem Team, aber das.
Come over this fucking wall. I dare ya.
Sounds ridiculous now, but this is how it's explained.
Eavesdropping, so I can listen into the enemy's voice comms. So if I hear that they're trying to pinpoint my location, I can hear that, oh, they're tracking in on me. I gotta move. So it's just
When in reality, catching someone hot micing is not what you need to be hearing when playing the game. And this perk is really funny, but it does not serve the function that it was made for. And it is absolutely not worth, sacrificing a perk 3 slot for. It's just a lot of stuff like that, and just the balance of everything. Basically, all the good perks are in the 2 and 3 slot. All perk 1s are usually just extra of something. Things like stopping power, so you have higher base damage for all bullet weapons, was blatantly busted. Juggernaut for more health was also complained about a lot and just broken, but stopping power was the thing that counteracted it in theory. Most of COD 4's rough edges would be smoothed out in MW2, although that game had its own issues to deal with. I noticed when revisiting this MP that because basically every perk was busted, it encouraged you to actually build a ton of different setups depending on the situation, more so than I feel like a lot of COD games do. Like, you can run a class with the UAV jammer perk and a silencer on your primary weapon to stay completely off radar, but that means your damage output isn't going to be as high as it could be. That was also very apparent in the way that attachments were. There's not many at all in this game, and you can only pick one, but that choice would be a very meaningful one when it came to the purpose of your class. Also, pistols were pretty viable in this game just due to the way that guns function. You had no other choice but to carry a sidearm, like you couldn't forego it for any reason, but for the most part, it gave you a lot of freedom to make meaningful changes to your class setup and experiment with things. Create a class itself was revolutionary, and COD 4 would have still been beloved just for that reason alone, but the big-ticket item, in my view, were kill streaks. This is what genuinely set the game apart from the competition. Infinity Ward finally found their footing with the formula of earning 3 different streaks. 3 consecutive kills for a UAV, 5 for an airstrike, and 7 for an attack helicopter. That was literally all of them. The ability to customize and choose kill streaks wouldn't be a thing until Modern Warfare 2. It's a blessing and it sucks in COD 4. It's the easiest yet most addicting gameplay loop function they could have made, but the literal streaks themselves can get messy. For example, kill streaks kill stack, meaning you can use airstrikes to get a helicopter. Not a huge deal in COD 4, but that would prove to be a wild choice in MW2. Also, because helicopters are only 7 kills and they last pretty long, a lot of times multiple players would have helicopters but can only use them one at a time. The air for kill streaks could get really clogged, if that makes sense. And while there were some things, there weren't nearly as many options for dealing with kill streaks like what would be available in the following Modern Warfare 2. The kill streak system was absolutely genius. Basic here, but still incredibly smart. Let me touch on map design for a second. Remember how I said many campaign levels are the same as MP? And this is why I say they doesn't encourage nor discourage any preference of play. The maps have very clear PowerPoints and positions to fight for, making certain spots favorable to hold down. You all know which ones I'm talking about. All the maps in COD 4 really follow this general structure, and some iconic ones like Shipment, the smallest map in COD history, were born here. And this was only in the remastered version, but there were some variants of the existing maps that had changes to its aesthetic, like Beach Bog, Winter Crash, etc. It had a healthy selection of maps, and there aren't too many outright terrible ones in this game. Most are at least playable or, pretty great. Map design in this era was absolutely dialed in, especially for the sandbox and weapon balance of the time. Also, the prestige system itself was so far ahead of its time, it's crazy. It gave players a tangible reason to keep playing, grinding and ranking up to earn continued cosmetic and bragging right rewards. The prestige system would remain largely the same in COD for the next decade.
Digga, liegt dort auf dem Boden,
Changes, but the bones have more or less remained intact. Sounds wild, but games didn't really give players any reason to keep playing until now. Everything you do grants you XP, so no matter what, even if you're not so good at the game, you play enough, you'll reach Master Prestige eventually. Prestige mode was a leap in innovation in giving people a reason to get invested. So all of these new features and, added bonuses were great, but unfortunately, one of the biggest pain points in COD 4 was also the maps and the nasty head glitches. So listen up, let me explain something. In all the Call of Duty games, a player's bullets didn't actually come from their gun, or at least not in the technical sense. When playing, it appears to come from your gun in the first-person view, but in reality, bullets actually come from the player's head, meaning enemies can have just the very tip of their head visible and can still shoot you. Like, some of the head glitches were unbelievable and almost unbeatable. This was by far the most frustrating aspect to the core design of this game. Very easily exploitable with the map design and, how cover was built here, and almost impossible to counter. It took camping to a whole new dimension. That and COD 4 initially ran off hosts instead of servers, meaning the host of the lobby would have a very noticeable ping advantage compared to everyone else, so it was a common occurrence to dominate and absolutely stomp out the enemy one match when you're host, and then get absolutely hosed down the next when you have a bad connection to the host. The technical shortcomings of this game cannot be overlooked. A lot of them were kind of smoothed out with the release of the remaster, but still, the head glitching is atrocious. That's something that would absolutely piss COD fans off had it been released in current day. But speaking of the remaster specifically, I mentioned how Raven Software took the liberty of providing the older style of game with modern game mechanics. Those came in the form of in-game currency, and yes, it goes without saying, I'm not in love with loot boxes as is, but these are pretty bad still. They added a bunch of guns to the sandbox of COD 4, really disturbing the ecosystem of that original game balance. While it doesn't outright break the flow of game, sometimes I die by a gun and I'm like, what the hell was that? And it's some weapon I've never seen before, locked behind RNG. There's also a strut mechanic which you get for opening crates to make things, but the earn rates on these and the tokens themselves are a joke. Generally speaking, you get 2 depot credits per game, give or take. One rare supply drop is 30 credits, meaning you need to play about 15 games for 1 rare drop. If each game is 10 minutes on average, that's 1 rare drop every 2.5 hours or so. It's a literal scam. Or you can just outright buy them with cash, which is what they want you to do. and you can tell that this was the baby version of that horrible, horrible menu system from COD 2. While I can appreciate the positive element of making an old game more fit with modern times, this system also feels like the fine degree of a classic game with grimy gambling mechanics. Not really too fond of that, to be honest. Because the game is obviously more simple in comparison and lacks the content of current day COD, I think it's a big reason it was slapped onto Infinite Warfare's Prestige Edition. I feel like it's just not enough content on its own, even in the remastered edition, to sell as a complete package in current day. The core gameplay is pretty solid and usually really fun to play, but it can get stale quickly. You can only get the same UAV, airstrike, and helicopter on the same maps over and over again before it starts to feel a bit repetitive. The remaster does a fine job at adding some replayability, but it's through mostly artificial systems. It doesn't exactly compete with a current day Call of Duty when it comes to gameplay depth and features, but it's still fun. I'd argue more fun than a certain title. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare was a simple yet extremely effective COD game. I think the best way to describe this experience in a few words is beauty in simplicity. The game in its original form was already going out on a limb, and the remaster tried its best to make this kind of shooter relevant in modern day. Overall, the single player is very good. Not the best or even my favorite, but it's excellent in just being what it is and, establishing the base. Not trying too hard to be liked or being something that it's not. The characters established here would be the fan favorite.
Digga, kämpft, Junge!
And the multiplayer was revolutionary for the FPS market and the COD franchise simultaneously. Who knows where Call of Duty would be without the influence of COD 4? While it's fairly basic when looking at it from our perspective nowadays, it did so much to define a generation of gaming, it will forever be remembered as a legend and immortalized as one of the juggernauts of FPS history.
Komm.
Contact! Enemy SAM turret! Watch your fire!
Das Map ist so riesig und verwirrend, ne? Das frage ich mich gerade auch. Ich sehe gar keinen. Digga, und für absolut.
Been lied to with Call of Duty Black Ops 4. Remember this whole 3 years of support thing? A lot. The largest amount of zombies ever. A lot. For this statement about how there was never a campaign for BO4, that is also true. Black Ops 4 has still by far the most wasted potential of any Call of Duty game, period. In fact, many of you have probably seen this video of mine detailing it all, but so much more has come out about the game since then. Everything about the original plans for the campaign of BO4, a lot of the Lost Zombies maps, the original ideas for multiplayer, and so much more. What's absolutely criminal is that pretty much none of this stuff ever came to pass. Black Ops 4 was supposed to be so much different to the current build that all of us are familiar with now. This is going to be by far the most thorough examination and investigation into Call of Duty Black Ops 4 ever. We're going to be uncovering the lies and missed opportunities, as well as a deep look into the product that we did end up with. Now, whether you personally like Black Ops 4 as a game or not is totally fair to hold opinion either way, but objectively, it is a far cry from what Treyarch really wanted to do with this entire game. And not just any one singular aspect. Virtually everything was somehow compromised, leading to half-baked modes, unfinished features, and a lack of additional content, and a title that doesn't really cap off the Black Ops franchise in a super satisfying way. With all of the new info and evidence that has come out, it still serves to reinforce my feelings that Black Ops 4 was the most disappointing Call of Duty to ever release. And to be crystal clear, that is not the same thing as saying it's the worst game, because I don't believe that for a second. However, it's the game that fell the most short in relation to its exceedingly high expectations for it. And those expectations...
Clear. Sniper is down.
Not much time left. Put this to bed.
Planting spring mine.
Fall back to the CCTV.
Feels like
We
numb
got
all
wiped
over
out.
again.
Gas mine, take it down. 5 kills, getting loose.
Confirmed.
UAV.
UAV in the turn. You have eyes on. Archangel ready for use.
Losing contact.
UAV fuel check 50%. Your UAV has been destroyed.
Thermal incoming. Using Archangel.
Incoming frag.
Archangel is hot.
Watch out, grenade.
Grenade incoming. After gun. Semtex front.
Enemy RCXD detected.
Get down. Frag.
Throwing flashbang. Get up. No one's got time for your whine.
Eyes on enemy.
Eyes on hostile Semtex.
Enemy taken down.
Target ID.
KIA. Enemy grenade.
Hostile Semtex. Also planning spring mine. Stunning.
Bringing in recon.
Spring mine going out.
Incoming flashbang.
Quickly, care package deployed!
Enemy must be eliminated.
Tossing flash.
Taking stim.
Semtex thrown. Hostiles are resupplying.
Damn it! Check your sight.
Well.
Flashbang sight.
Throwing flashbang. Incoming frag. Hostile spring mine. Semtex down. Eyes on hostile concussion.
Hostile thermal.
them a nudge.
Get down, crack!
Enemy took disarmed. One of you
Hostile septic. Troops in contact.
Sniper's history.
Flash out.
Target ID.
Enemy stunned.
They were already dead. Good job.
Yes! That is how you execute.
Team deathmatch. Eliminate all threats.
Tally.
Gain the advantage. Now hold it.
Throwing
Enemy
flashbang.
flashbang.
The lead is on.
Semtex out.
Engaging
You're
hostile.
falling behind, Crimson.
Toss and flare.
Took out that traitor. Hostile terminated.